Go.
Yeah.
Go.
Mysterious girl.
Great. That's the perfect way to start. Perfect. Okay, we'll start now. So, to everyone watching, this is a oversized cafetiere. I'm not compensating for anything. This is the AMA. Oban, Jones, Garrett, Clarke. We're talking about these, the Aurelians, which is the new deck designed by Oban Jones that I'm going to piggyback on and tell you that had something to do with. In actual fact, I just said, Oban, I want a deck that looks like this. And he was like, okay.
Oh, you mean like this?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I didn't exactly give you that. I was like, bathe it in gold. Make it look fancier. Make it look like someone's going to have to remortgage their house to own this. And that's what I want. And you were like, sure. And a week later, you were like, how about this? And I was like, sweet. Let's put a name on it. And that was, I think, my contribution.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you absolutely killed it. We'll chat about these, I'm sure, in a little bit. For now, the rules. We had so many questions. Unlikely we're going to be able to answer them all. If you do enjoy this, you're watching at home, if you do enjoy this and you want to see another episode, type part 2 below in the comment section. And Oban and I will do a part 2.
Yeah.
Which will essentially be either some of the same questions or we'll post out and get some more, just in case you've got any follow-ups. So, 1 for 1.
Cool.
I'll start with the questions first.
Mm-hmm.
Nice light one for you, Oban.
Yeah.
A fan asks, chicken dippers or turkey drummers?
Turkey drummers. Easy, simple.
Goes without saying.
There's barely even a question.
Oh, no. Bless him. Anyway, 1 for 1. Let's go.
Right. So...
Wait, before you get into it...
Oh, yeah.
Turkey drummers in brown bread, isn't it? Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
For
turkey drummers.
For those outside of the UK, you might not know what a turkey drummer is. It's the most horrible mush of processed food. It's like everything a turkey doesn't want to be. It's smashed between breadcrumbs.
Self-doubt.
Yeah.
Crushed into a paste.
All that hate and anxiety. But for £1 a bag, you can't go wrong. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Right, go for a nice easy one for you as well. Boxing or UFC?
Oh, UFC, without a doubt. I think boxing's dead. And hopefully everyone will be watching UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden with Conor McGregor. Yo, do nothing. Baby, we done it. It's Red Panther night.
Conor McGregor's on point.
I'm trying.
It's tidy.
You call home, you call your wife, you tell her, baby, we done it. One for you.
Yep.
How long does it take to design a playing card deck? So I guess depends on the design, but let's say try and tie it to 2. How long does it take you to do a standard design? And then how long does it take you to do an intricate one?
So a standard design probably be something like Roadhouse or The Keepers or something like that. You're probably looking at about a month of work because it's not just the actual drawing it or illustrating it or putting it together. You've got like 2 weeks of just trying stuff first.
Yeah.
So like you pretty much never, unless you are very lucky, go for the first thing you make. You make 5 or 6 aces. And you tweak it a little bit each time. You rework it until you've got something you're happy with.
Have you ever had a design where like Brad's held you to the gun or Madison's asked for something and you've gone, yep, here you go, and it's that?
Oh, what? Just
ends up being the first thing you've done. Have you ever had a design like that?
The one take. Yeah, actually, like they do happen from time to time, but it's not something to rely on. It's not go, yep, you can have this in a week because everything will go bash, 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 easy peasy. I'm trying to think what. I mean, honestly, that actually the ace for the Roadhouse, that was a one shot.
Yeah.
Take. That was just
no tweaks.
Yeah, we just talked about it and it's like, you mean something like this? And he was like, yep, perfect. Do it. Get it.
Sweet.
Get it,
Right.
get it done. Next. But yeah, so for sort of a standard deck, you're looking at anywhere between 2 weeks and a month.
That's crazy.
Just because there's not as much exterior stuff to think about. You're not thinking about court cards. You're not thinking about, what's the most outrageous thing we can do with this deck.
I think people as well, playing cards used to be quite cheap in comparison. I remember buying like a Masters deck for $5, but
Yeah.
people don't realize that like printing costs go up and manufacturing costs go up and shipping goes up, and the card stock, when you even choosing between traditional stock and crushed paper like these, that adds an extra sort of unit cost per deck.
Yeah.
And I guess they also don't understand that your job isn't over with the drawing, is it? You've got you've got to upload it, you've got to go through legal, you've got to approve the proofs, the printed proofs, PDF proofs. You've got to make sure everything looks good. So even in a deck that's standard, it's not like people might dismiss it as, there's not much on these, or these have got standard courts, how lazy. It's not lazy, is it? It's like, it's months of work. Yeah.
And the standard courts are always something that we talk about. It's never like, just whack them in.
Yeah.
This will save us like a week's or 2 weeks worth of design and messing about. It's all right. It's going to have standard courts because it's going to be used for a particular thing.
Yeah.
So, I remember seeing a few things about people complaining that the keepers had standard courts, but they were workers' decks, needed to be as usable as possible.
Yeah.
And then you have other decks like fashion decks, like the sleepers, which it's okay to go completely balls out on the court cards.
Yeah.
Because they're sort of what they are. They're a piece of art. Well, that's a bit big head, but they're a piece of artwork. They're there to be pretty and to be interesting and exciting, not the most practical deck. There are most practical decks, and then there are pretty fashion decks.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the sleepers. Like I've said this to you before. I know at your wedding, you ended up giving me a gift of a brick of sleepers, which is a crazy way to go around. But not every deck has to be seen by a spectator either, does it?
No.
Like some decks are just for you, just for in the house or walking down the street. Or this morning I was getting a manicure, as all good magicians who are on camera should do. It's got the word man in it, so you don't have to worry about it being slightly effeminate.
Go for it. You do you. It's fine.
Exactly, you do you, girl. So, like, and I was playing with a deck of cards there. I didn't show anyone any tricks, didn't have to perform, I wasn't on command, wasn't filming anything. So I could use anything. Like, you don't always have to be prepared all the time. You can say no to someone. You don't have to be a performing monkey. If you're there with a deck of cards, as long as you enjoy it, it's good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to get over the idea that everything you do is for someone else.
Yeah.
You can own stuff, and you can buy stuff, and you can do stuff that no one else ever needs to see, but you will get pleasure from it.
Yeah. I used to say as a Christmas present all the time when I was a teenager, like, I'll have a brick of cards. And my mum was like, like that's a useless gift. It looks tiny. It's like expensive. It's like $100 a brick, or $70 to $100 a brick. By the time you added like UK customs on and shipping, it'd be over $100 for something she thought was like this big, and I'd get no enjoyment from. So yeah, as long as everyone out there remembers that it's whatever you want it for, and some things seem a certain way. But I've got decks over here. I've got one-way force decks that I play with, that I flourish with in the house. Absolutely useless. But if anyone comes round, they think I'm the best magician ever. They're like... So I've got a deck of cards on the coffee table. I'm playing with them. And then they're like, do you know any new tricks? I'm like, I've got one. You shuffle those. And they shuffle them, and I'm like, grab one out. And then I do a mind reading thing. I'm like, 3 of spades. And they never check. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm always using a normal deck. They never ask to see the deck. It's conditioning. You should chop and change. Have a worker's deck. Have a flourishing deck. Have a fashion deck. have a one-way force deck, have a gaff deck, because as long as you're entertaining yourself, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess they're all strings to the bow as well, aren't they? They're all different avenues that you can pursue at different times. You don't limit yourself, saying I only get workers decks.
Yeah, exactly. Or I only use red bikes because my
But what if you want a
audience...
frish, or what if you...
That's a common misconception, by the way. I've been performing Magic for 10 years. I know that's not a long time. Like, usually when people come out with a bold statement, they're like, I've been performing Magic for 60 years. But, like, I've probably put a lot of performing into that 10 years, and not one person has ever complained about my deck of cards. They say, is that a normal deck? And I go, yeah, check it out. And they go, oh, these are cool.
Yeah, I've not seen anything like this before.
Yeah, I've seen these before. And you're like, yeah. They're just a bit more expensive than standard decks because I need to be able to use them all night long at a gig. And they go, oh, wow, cool. So they're just smoother. Oh, you can feel the difference. Oh, yeah, cool. Great. And that's it. That's the end of conversation.
Yeah.
You've just made a new friend. It's like magicians run without being chased. So someone's like, is that a standard deck? And they're like, no, I can't use custom decks anymore because my spectator asked me if it's standard or not. It is standard. Just give it to them. Just say, oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Take a look. Sometimes they'll be, oh, no, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to drop them. Or I've got wet hands.
Yeah.
You know? If you're performing for swimmers or fishermen.
As you so often do.
Or sleazy people.
Just sweat.
Just sweaty, Mr. Burns. Excellent.
They've been rummaging around in their trouser pockets for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. With a roll of coins in there. Next question. Quickly, move on.
All right. So for you, we've got... actually, this is quite a good one. So what drives you to keep playing with cards? So I guess that's like what keeps you going.
Yeah, I guess so. I think at the point that you've got to force yourself, you're not in it anymore. You know, I don't have anything driving my passion for playing cards or Magic or cardistry. I mean, you've seen me, Oban, at summits. Like, I do not exist without a deck of cards.
No, you're the most irritating person to be on Skype with because you're either eating a protein bar in my ear,
standard,
or you can just hear for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, even in real life, at like restaurants and stuff, like when we're at summits and stuff, I flourish walking down the street.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I do cardistry in the elevator going up.
Yeah, you look a bit weird, to be honest, without a deck of cards in your hand.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but it comes naturally to me, you know? I've got a deck of cards in every room in my house, and that's not even a joke. I actually go around and I place a deck there ready, so that when I go to make a coffee, there's one downstairs, and then I come up and there's one in my office, in here. Well, there's more than one in here, there's hundreds, but there's one in here, there's one in my bedroom on my nightstand, there's one in my bathroom, I'm not going to tell you what that's for. There's one in my car. So yeah, I think at the point that you need something to drive you, you're not in it, you're not passionate about it. It's the same as if I asked you, like, what drives you to be a good artist? Sometimes it's just what comes natural. You sit there, you're trying to draw something. Yeah,
it's not something that you turn off or you necessarily go, oh, I need to do this today, I want to do this today, I've got to do this today. It's, I need to do other things beside just doing this today.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why I'm conscious of, like, even playing with the deck now, because all you'll hear is like, or springs. So this is maybe a lead-in question, but what deck are you most proud of developing?
Properly, honestly, I'd go with the Aurelians. Like,
and why?
That's not just a buy my new book kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's like, it just took the most out of us, I think.
I mean, people might not know this. This is over a year in development for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's been the longest development of any deck. It's the main thing I like about it, or the main thing that took the time, was redoing all the courts.
Yeah,
because I've got this bugbear with standard courts. I think they're fine for worker decks and that kind of stuff. But for really ornate, beautiful decks, I just think they look clumsy when they're put into something that's more intricate and more has a cleanness to it. Because the courts themselves they're old.
Yeah.
They are old looking. They're old fashioned. So with the Aurelians, I just took them apart, took all the essential elements out of it, made sure it still looked at a glance relatively standard, then just reworked the whole thing to mirror that cleanness.
And I mean, a lot of people have asked about this, so we might as well answer it here. This was originally sent to USPCC as a tally-ho deck, wasn't it?
Yep.
And a lot of people have drawn that comparison. Oh, this looks like it was our intention initially, because we did tally-ho Vipers like 12 years ago, which is the silver version. It was initially our intention to make a gold Vipers. But your artwork was so intricate that USPCC legal department were like, we can't even print it. Like, it's so intricate, it's so different. Not only does it not meet our guidelines for legally having the tally-ho branding, like other producers like King's Wild, etc. do, but they couldn't even get it to print, like, because it was so intricate. So that's when they gave us the go-ahead to sort of tweak it a bit more ourselves and make it our very own. So
I think they did us a favor in the end, because like getting those kind of knockbacks, because we were really happy with it as a tally-ho deck. We're like, this is gorgeous. We're gonna push this through. We're all very proud of it. And then we got knocked back. It was a bit of a hit. Like,
it was. The other thing,
I was legitimately a bit crushed by it, because I thought this is the prettiest thing I've made, and it's because it looked for a little bit like it might get canned. Because it was just going to be so much to take it apart. Because the whole tuck had to be redone in the end.
Yeah, and that's the thing that is worth sharing, is that not only did it have to be redone, but like it had to be then distanced even further from tally-ho.
Yeah.
So there was a sweet spot of it's not close enough to our design to carry our branding, to license that, make it more like ours. But it's also so intricate that we can't have you have it as your own, because we can't print it, which did us the favor of, then we looked elsewhere and we got involved with different specialists on foiling, and we actually outsourced the tuck, didn't we? So logistically, a lot of people are like, oh, $10 a deck. And I'm like, yeah. Listen, for $10 a deck, it took a year of mine and Oban's time back and forth. It took the USPCC to print the cards inside, who then shipped them to a special packaging place. Then another specialist gold foiling company printed specialized tucks for us, that then shipped them to this packing place, that then hand put decks into these custom boxes and wrapped them, and then shipped them halfway across America back to Ellusionist. And then we store in our warehouse. We get one of our warehouse stuff to send it out for $10. To me, I actually bought some. I actually spent even though I work, do you know what I mean, with the company, I actually spent my own money on something we brought because I wanted to. You know, I couldn't not own that for $10. You know, $10 is like, to me, a cup of coffee in New York cost me $5 for a venti cold brew, you know? So 2 cups of coffee can get you those, which is Oban's the deck he's most proud of.
Yeah, definitely those. But I think getting those kind of knockbacks, it does help in ways, because it pushes you to be creative around a problem. Yeah. So, like, it's almost by failing, you sort of find the ceiling, because part of it was Illusionists had never done a deck that intricate before. No. We had no sort of idea of where the ceiling was on detail. So we shot straight through it. we weren't so fine on everything. And even when we sent it to this external vendor, it was like, this is very pretty, but fundamentally impossible.
Yeah.
Like we have to take all this detail off. We have to do this. We have to do this. But by finding that ceiling, we now have a reference point going forwards for what we can do in terms of detail.
Yeah.
But it also meant that, again, we'd failed somewhere, so we had to be creative around a problem. So that tuck box has probably been redesigned 4, maybe 5 times, like almost from scratch in the last year, just to get it to the point where it's the best that we can do with the limitations that we have.
Yeah, anyone that sees it is going to see the crazy detail in this. And accurate as well. Everything's accurate to history with this, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we'll skip on to the next question.
Yeah.
Have you got one?
So, yep. Why did you start doing magic? If you only started doing it 10 years ago, why did you start?
I think I've brought this up before. So for those who do know, I won't bore you with a long story. I was like early for a job interview when I was 16. And I was 40 minutes early, went into a bookshop that was next door to Starbucks. Thought I would grab a book to sort of waste the time. Walked in, on the stand was Nick Einhorn's Encyclopedia of Magic. So it was £4, which is about $5-6. I was like, great, I'll grab that. Went next door and I learnt the back palm, which, for those that don't know it, is this. So you show a card and then shake it, it's gone, it comes back. So apparently it takes like 10 years to master. But I could do the main move within like 30 seconds. I'm just naturally dexterous. So then, I went to the interview and they were like, do you have any hobbies? And I didn't. You don't when you're 16. You go out and you play rugby with your friends. After school, you play a bit of PlayStation. You do your schoolwork, you do your homework, and that's it. So I just said magic. I was like, so then I vanished a business card. He gave me the job, and I was like, I better stick with this. I'm like Frank Abagnale. I'm stuck in this life.
It's cool. I like that. It's like a nice meet cute kind of story.
Oh, what do you mean?
Oh, it's just like I don't know. Like you could have not gone into the shop. You could have not gone to that interview. It's just like one or two things need to line up perfectly, and then the whole rest of your life is different because you were a bit early. So maybe your bus got there early, and that's why you went into the coffee shop, and why you went into the bookshop. And
oh my God, Oban, you're making me reassess my entire life. This got really deep, really quick.
Yeah. Imagine if like you'd forgotten, I don't know, your phone or something at home, and you'd have to go back, and you weren't early for that interview. You'd still be working in that shoe shop or whatever it was the interview was for.
Yeah, it was for Burton Menswear. But I was a manager in there within a year in retail. So anyone who's looking to start, I don't know, out there and is like, I want to be a magician when I'm older, just know you can start anywhere. Like I started in retail and now I'm here. You know, you don't need to be a magician when you're younger to be a magician when you're older. You can just, it's fluid. But yeah, in the same vein as that, what got you into art/graphic design?
Art was a different in than graphic design. Definitely different in than graphic design. It was art's just something that I've always done. Like I've never not been doing some kind of illustration or some kind of sketch or just something. Like I've always been drawing something. And my mum tells this story about how when I was 2, I drew on a chalkboard a stick figure, but gave him eyebrows and ears and fingers. Whereas most of the other kids at the time were just drawing like a circle and a big scratchy face on it.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Oh, this kid's actually, paying attention to how things look and how things work. So
Arguably the most important as well features.
So she pushed me a lot to just follow what made me happy, which is something that I don't think I'm ever going to quite be able to repay her for. So she's always supported me with my art. And then I went off to uni and did fine art, like not graphic design or illustration or anything, just went full fine art. And then left uni. I mean, it's sort of the whole thing ended up sort of gearing towards more a designy angle by the end, subconsciously. Like it started going with like really detailed illustrations and ended with an animation. But then when you get out of uni, you realize there is no way to conceivably make any money as an artist.
To all those people out there know as well, they're like,
yeah,
they were so impressed with all of that. They're like, oh yeah, follow your dreams, follow your dreams. There's no way to make money.
There's no way. Forget your dreams. Find a new dream.
Take someone else's dream.
Well,
See their dream, take it.
I realized that my dream was never to make money as, a proper gallery artist. It was just to be happy in what I do.
Yeah.
Which I think is all you can hope for in the end. If you're hoping for something else, then you're going to die an ambitious man, but an unfulfilled man.
Yeah.
You just need to find something that makes you happy. So I started doing graphic design thinking, I've done art. I'm almost overqualified. And then within sort of like 2 weeks, realized that was a fundamentally flawed way of thinking. I ended up working for about 2 years unpaid in different design agencies while working at Costco, which is horrible.
Ouch. But you can get like a 90 pack of Ferrero Rocher.
See, I'd never been in Costco before I started working there. So everybody that I spoke to said, oh, Costco's great. You get so much stuff. I only ever knew it as a place that I had to go to fund the thing that I actually enjoyed doing.
It was a sinkhole for all of your hopes and dreams.
Pretty much, because I was working 35 hours a week in Costco, and then I was working 30 hours a week in design agencies. And I opted to do the morning shifts in Costco. So I was starting at like 3:00, making the stuff in the cafe.
So 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 a.m. 3 a.m. on Saturdays, and it was 4 a.m. during the week. So you got a lot.
That's not a morning shift. That's an evening shift.
But then after I finished at like 10, I'd then drive to one of the design agencies I was working at and just work there from like 11 till 5, just so I was getting a portfolio of stuff. Because that's the thing, like you don't get anywhere unless you
hustle.
Know what you want and just go for it.
Yeah.
Just absolutely go for it. Then I ended up like leapfrogging from. I got one really crap job. The boy was actually paying me, and then you just sort of you do a little bit more, you do a little bit better each time.
Yeah.
Then I ended up in a couple of really nice agencies.
But how long did that take? Like from Oban, working in Costco, bringing home 5 kilos of cheese as a Christmas gift.
Or like a 2 foot long pudding.
Yeah, or from Costco over here to like where you are now working for Ellusionist. How long did that take?
Costco, I started in the summer after I left uni, so that was 2011. To actually get to a job that I was happy to stay in. I was happy to stay in before I started working for Ellusionist. 5 years. It was 2015. So four and a half years about before I was in a job that I was like, okay, now I could, if I did this job for the next 50 years, I'd be quite happy. I've enjoyed what I've done.
So it's not something that happens like immediately. Like
no.
4 or 5 years of hating life and working.
Yeah, I made it hard for myself because I didn't figure out what it was I wanted to do until I'd already left uni. And so I was going in for jobs against kids who'd done a design degree, they'd already got sort of their year in industry experience. So I was coming in edit cold 3 years later
Yeah.
than the people I was competing against who'd already had all this experience and were looking for the same jobs that I was. So,
They mugged you off.
yeah. So I mean,
Gutted.
so any advice for people wanting to go into graphic design is get experience. Like,
Is there a life
invaluable.
lesson there? Is there a life lesson there that you didn't know what you wanted before you finished uni? Like, because a lot of the audience we're now catering to are younger. They're making those decisions with exams and stuff, and they're putting a lot of pressure on it. Like, does there need to be?
No, I think was it Baz Luhrmann said the most interesting people he knows are people age 40 who still don't know what they want to do with their lives. But I mean, it's. I think the life lesson is that you can do it at whatever age you are. You just need to put in the graft. Like, if you're lucky enough to work out exactly what it is you want when you're, 15 years old, when you're doing your GCSEs and picking what A levels you want to do, or whatever version it is that you have in your country, whatever system it is. But I'm sure there's a stupidly early point that you make a life decision that you don't fully understand.
Yeah.
Because I had the opportunity to study design, and I was like, no. I do art. I like doing art. I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're 15 and idealistic.
I know.
You don't actually think about, I actually don't want to sleep on a dirty mattress in an alley.
Stereotype of an artist.
Yeah. There was, in my class of, not to be a downer, but in my class of 39, I think it was 39, I think there's 4 people who are actually making a living as an artist.
Yeah, I remember I went to uni. I think there's 11 in our class. I know that some guys are in fashion. They work in retail. Some others work in Morrison's, the supermarket.
Yeah.
I think there's one girl who works as a graphic designer, but other than that, it's not as good of a percentage for working in the field that you choose.
I think it's because there's lots of easier options.
Yeah.
Like if unless you are 100% passionate about it, 100% this is what I want to do, then there are going to be so many avenues that just crop up. But I could just do this, and I could just do this, and I'm making a living, and that's fine. Like if you're happy doing that,
yeah,
that's fine. But you get other people who are, I know exactly what it is that I want, and I'm going to put the time in, and I'm going to put the effort in, and I'm going to be poor and exhausted for 5 years to get there.
No, totally. I agree. So yeah, we'll move on. Grab a.
All right. That one got a bit deep, so I'm just going to go for a shallow one here.
Go on.
What's your favorite flourish?
Let me just think. Madonna 3 by the Bucks. Sorry, I had to switch off my brain there and do it.
Yeah. Which one do I have? That one.
Yeah. Madonna 3 by the Buck Twins. And then anything that Tobias Levin or Oliver Sogard comes out with, or Nikolai Pedersen, any of those Dutch guys, they're ridiculous. So yeah, I try my best to learn these. If you want to feel inferior, in life, then be a 26-year-old man with 10 years of playing card experience and have those young guys kick your ass with crazy flourishes. But yeah, that's it. I'll start with a light one as well. Let's jazz it up. Somebody asked you, who's the funniest member of Team E?
I'd probably just go for the person who makes me laugh the most, which is your very good self.
No, it's not me.
No, it is. Yeah.
I don't make you laugh the most. Or
We
maybe
do.
we talk too much.
Yeah, we talk too much, maybe. But anyway, you make me laugh the most with all the heinous stuff that comes out of the mouth.
Yeah, I think like for for me, there's no such thing as the funniest member. Like when you're in a
Yeah,
room with Lloyd,
yeah. Lloyd will have you creased over,
yeah, like you'll die laughing. Like he's the funniest.
and Ramsey will do
Ramsey,
stuff
yeah,
that just makes you cry.
with his impressions, like, and
Oh
he
my god.
stays in character. He's like, "Do ya? Do ya?
Yeah,
You sure do ya?" And he'll totally stay in it and commit.
yeah.
And he gives it time as well. He'll do the stay. Do ya? Like
It was proper intimidating when he shaved his head.
that's what I
And
mean. It's like
he got in your face. You were like, what?
he gets into full character, and he's like, "That's hilarious." And then Pete again, like really funny. You can't really. I'd say in terms of like the objectively funny, it would be Lloyd on my end. But when it
Lloyd,
comes
Lloyd,
to our conversations,
yeah, Lloyd would be good on like a stand-up circuit, just saying whatever pops into his head.
yeah,
He'd get booed off the stage after about 30 minutes because he'll say something that's too far. But
yeah,
yeah,
Lloyd's like,
but no, like just for sort of having a conversation with you, make me laugh so much.
yeah. I'm not sure we can repeat any of those conversations on here.
No, no. They're the career enders.
Okay, let's move on, shall we? Before we get into trouble.
All right. So let's do a couple of rapid fire ones.
Go on then.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Who lives in Drury Lane?
Yeah.
What's the best deck you've ever made?
Aurelians.
Sweet.
Aurelians all the way. Aurelians all the way.
Okay, what's the favorite deck your favorite deck that was not designed by you? That's a great question.
Okay, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's a toss-up. There's
Sorry, toss who?
toss-up.
Oh, toss up. Oh, shoot. I thought I was going to have to bleep that.
It's probably some. I don't know. You got the Whispering Imps. It's not the most intricate Sussman deck. I don't even think it's the best one, but there's something about it. Something about that black tuck with just a little bit of red popping through.
Yeah.
It just hits a point with me. And it's either that or the first edition of the Blood Kings. I just think so smooth and pretty.
Yeah.
They're so simple and minimal, but there's something clean about it.
To me, it's that deep red. You know,
Yeah.
It's like that. It's the perfect
That deep
kind
red
of
with that sharp gold.
Yeah. Okay, let me rapid fire some more. How the that was a swear word. Can you design cards like that? So beautiful. I guess that's not really a question. Someone else does ask though, what program do you use for designing?
Illustrator and Photoshop, most of it. Anything Adobe. It's just the industry standard.
Yeah.
It's just the way to go. Like it works across most platforms. It's the one I've been using for years. Like when I first started doing design, there was a couple of old dinosaurs rattling around like Clarke and stuff. But
showing your age now. You're showing your age.
Yeah, they've quickly I think Clarke's still around, but it's only really used by like designers who are not old, not had it, but have just been around for a very long time, and it's just what they've grown up with. I just got an iPad Pro, which is super exciting, and I've started using some of the like Adobe Draw and stuff on there, which are very cool. Like that's opening up a whole new way of working.
Yeah. The way of working from your sofa, you mean?
Yeah, the way of working, sat on a balcony or in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Drawing, and then you go. Now it's on a deck.
Oh my god! You only need a fixed gear bike now, and you'll be full hipster. Yeah. You'll be 110% hipster. Like
I need a big flat cap as well.
Yeah. You need a 5-panel hat.
I need a fedora.
You need some 1993 Reebok classics, like worn by.
Yeah, I'll wear a big grey Game Boy on a chain around my neck.
Yeah. You need a Bill Clinton campaign badge.
All right, let's do another one for you. There was a couple of these actually. A lot of questions about your hair.
Oh yeah.
How do you do your hair, and what shampoo do you use? Industry secrets.
Yeah. I don't know whether to take that offensively, that I'm such a good magician and cardist that the only question they could ask me is about my hair, you know?
It's always just a big feature.
Okay, so for those who want to know, the hair comes in 3 stages. So I washed it this morning because I'm going out tonight to a Halloween party. So I washed it this morning and styled it, and then I'm going to wet it in the shower later and then restyle it, and you get better looking hair. Hair that's like slightly been worn in, it's way better. So like before the keepers shoot, I had terrible hair because I washed it before Lloyd came to my door. And then, I don't know, during another shoot the hair might have been on point because I'd had time to prepare. So there's that. But I use Leo Bancroft shampoo. I think you can only get it in the UK. It's basically just like a nice shampoo, relatively expensive in comparison. Any shampoo will work. Moroccan oil, put it in your hair, keeps your hair healthy. And then I use Schwarzkopf Got to Be hairspray. It comes in a yellow can. I think Madison uses the same hairspray, but we use it in different ways. I blow dry my hair and then seal the deal with the hairspray. And if my hair is too heavy and I've got a lot of weight in it, hey, they wanted to know. They wanted to know. You know, what am I? Who am I to judge? They wanted to know, Oban. Stop laughing. So then I use a little powder. It's called like volumizing powder by Schwarzkopf. It's called Got to Be volumizing powder. It's like talc. You put it in your roots. You get in amongst it. It gives you more volume in the quiff, and then you can come back. Seal the deal with hairspray. Done.
All right, I'm going to quickly ask you another question to bring it sharply back on track.
Yeah.
What's your favorite impromptu trick?
2-card Monty, without doubt. It's the one, I've said this again and again and again for years. People still don't believe me. Trust me. It's the only trick that they'll hand you money in the street. You don't even have to tell them you're a magician. You do that trick and they're going to give you money in the street. Like, I've won tips like it at a gig and they're happy to do it. I've won bar bets with it. And the reason is, you're not a magician until the very last moment they turn it over. And if you're doing a magic trick, if you pitch it as a magic trick, here, take this, sign this, watch close, I'm going to rip it. They know you're a magician. That's going to go back together somehow. You know, like, they can guess the rest. But with that, you don't say you're a magician. You say like, oh, we'll do something pretty cool. Have you ever seen that gambler at the seaside? Who gambles? Oh, I gamble. Cool. Take this card, hold on to it tight. I'm going to teach you how I do it. They switch. Which ones are you holding? Oh, Queen of Hearts on top, Queen of Hearts on bottom. Turn them over, they're both aces. They don't know you're a magician until that moment they see it, and that's the best impromptu trick you can do. It's the opener that I always do for the last 10 years, and it's perfect in every way as a trick.
Do you have like a sleight of hand or a flourish or something that you just catch yourself doing all the time when you're not thinking? Like, it just constantly pops up and, oh, I'm doing that one again.
Yeah. Diagonal palm shift. I always find myself just sort of putting a card in the middle and squaring it in and placing it down in its hidden palm. All the time. Always do that. I've never once used it in a trick, ever. I've never once have I ever been in front of an audience and done it, you know? But yeah, always to myself, I always find myself doing that. Let me grab one for you. What's the name of the first deck you made?
First deck I made. Well, the first decks I worked on were the Prohibition series.
What did you do in Prohibition?
I did all of the courts, and then I did a little something extra on the White Wolf vodka one. I did the pips as well. And then it was on the Disparis deck. Mike Clarke, the other designer, he put it together, but I did all the artwork for that one. So that was the first deck that I sort of did 100% of the actual
Yeah.
creation. But the first deck where I was actually left to my own devices to just go like, here's a concept, run with it, was when Madison came to me with the idea for the sleepers.
Ah, okay.
So that was the first one that was, here you go, have fun with this.
Someone's asked this as well. What's the most important thing to you in card design? So when Madison came to you with the sleepers, what was the most important thing to you about that playing card design?
Because it was an interesting concept.
Yeah.
For that design, it was to live up to that concept by making it an interesting deck. So I think the most important thing to me with card design, and it's the most important thing in any design, is to push forwards. It needs to be informed by the past, but it doesn't need to stick to the past like a rigid set of guidelines. Like doing something because that's the tradition. Doing something because it's been done 1,000 times before is the dumbest reason to do anything ever.
So you always want to innovate then? That's what
Yeah,
sort of...
yeah. I always want to do something that's interesting, something that hasn't been done before, or maybe look at something in a new light, or just attack something from a creative standpoint and try and push it forwards.
So this leads into that. Someone asked you, what as an artist inspires you to make your super minimalistic yet mind-blowing designs?
Well, that's sort of like that's a broad question because there's a lot. Because sometimes I'll get inspiration for a design from trawling through the internet for weeks, for months, and just going, I've got this idea and it needs to be this and this, but I'm trying to find something as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
And other times I'll be walking through a shop and I'll see like a corner of some packaging and go, oh my God, that's amazing. That would work for this card or this way.
Yeah.
Or you'll just see something like the way the light hits a building and just go, oh, that's such a clean line. That would be a beautiful sort of back design if you use that as the fundamental basis. So inspiration comes, I guess, from never fully switching off.
So basically, just always being observant to your surroundings. It's like,
just notice what's going on, because 9 times out of 10, it's not the trawling through the internet and the old design books and stuff that actually spawns these kind of ideas.
Yeah.
Like some of the directions with the foiling on the Aurelians came from I was walking around a gallery around the time that we started working on it. I think it was in London. I think it was the National Portrait Gallery, and they had this one frame where it was a black frame, but then somebody had gilded this incredibly ornate design onto it.
Says that.
Yeah, and it had those swirls coming over it, and I was like, that is so pretty. That's so sort of ornate and detailed. So yeah, that's where those swirls came from. I just took a photo, sketched it when I got.
And you ripped off the National Portrait Gallery.
Just ripped it off.
Oh,
completely ripped it.
Pablo Picasso said, didn't he? Great artists steal.
Yeah, it's great artists steal, because you can't create in a vacuum. There's nothing to influence you.
Your Honor. That sounds like your defense.
Yeah, that's my defense. You can't create in a vacuum.
You can't create in a vacuum, Your Honor. How do you even do the vacuum? I leave it to my wife.
But yeah, I used to try, because I hated the idea of being influenced or led by something else. And that was like the whole first year of my degree, until I got like told off for it, because like, okay, your work's kind of good, but it has nothing to do with what's going on in the contemporary art world.
Yeah.
So people need something familiar to latch onto. They need something that strikes home.
This is a great question, by the way. I was just reading this, and I was like, oh, it's perfect. How much freedom of design do you have when given an idea or a theme? Have you ever created a design that satisfied the customer but you were unhappy with? And that's a huge one, I guess.
Yeah. For Illusionist, no, because for that last question, I've never put out anything with Illusionist that I've not been happy with. I won't do it. I'd rather can the project
Yeah.
than put out something that I'm not satisfied with. Because, like, as a designer, you've kind of got you've got your creative integrity, and once that's been compromised, it's hard to get it back.
And the other thing is when you go for like other freelance jobs and they're like, what are you doing at the moment? You're like, oh, well, I design all these playing cards for Illusionist. I'm assuming they say, let's take a look.
Yeah.
And if you've got something you hate, like, you have to be apologetic. No. Trust me, I do better than this. I just...
Yeah, well, there's stuff like you get better, obviously, the more you do. So the Sleepers were the first deck I did years ago, and there's stuff that redoing them I would do very differently. But at the time, you have to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very critical of myself. So if I'm not happy with it, I won't put it out, or I will do everything in my power to get it to a point that I am happy with.
Yeah, I mean, so people get a bit of context on you, because they don't know you that well yet.
Yeah.
But every time I call you, and you've got a new design, you show me, and then there's like this 10 seconds of silence, and you stop breathing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. You're like, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so, oh, thanks. I'm really proud of this.
It's like, it's taken me 2 weeks to get to this point.
Do you know what I mean?
And I'm really happy with it, but I want to know, because you've been in the industry much longer than I have, so you know it better than me. So you're sort of quite a good benchmark for what will work. So when I ask you and then you like it, it's like, oh, good. It's not just me. This might actually make some money. Yeah. This might actually be a success.
So we don't have to use this for firewood. We're okay.
But yeah, for the first part of that question, it depends very much on not necessarily who I'm working for, but how close that person is to the design. So, or to the concept. Because if you look at the Carpet Noctem deck, mm-hmm. Chris had a very specific idea of what he wanted for that design. So it was my job to basically interpret his ideas, and there was lots of back and forth with that. And I'd do something, and he'd say, "Not quite. It needs to be like this." And so with that one, that was sort of I was more the pen that created his vision.
Yeah.
But then with stuff like the Knights for Chris and Madison, that was much more open. I won't talk too much about those because they're not out yet, but that's a lot more. There's a lot more freedom involved in that. Yeah. So it's not necessarily, it's not down to the person. It's down to how much they personally got invested, or not even how much they've got invested. How clear the idea is that they've got in their head.
And do you ever get stuck with a design like that? So like, let's say you've got a deadline. Someone's paying you to get this submitted by this time, and you get stuck on a design. How do you, like, what do you do to get it done? How do you cope with it?
I usually leave it.
Just walk away.
Like you've got to distance yourself for a bit, because you will get. I mean, that's the best cure for writer's block or creative block or whatever you want to call it, where you just get stuck. Is do something else. Yeah. Do something else for as long as you can reasonably do something else. So if there's a tight deadline, I mean, it might just be go out and get a coffee and just sit with your thoughts for a bit, go listen to some music, watch TV for half an hour. Just do something to take you away from it, and then come back at it with fresh eyes. I mean, I used to like doing a thing where I would design something, and then if time allowed, I wouldn't look at it again for a month. And then I'd come back at it and go, it's good, but this needs to go here, this needs scrapping, I need to put something in this area, I need to do this, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Because just giving, like, even if you're not stuck, giving yourself that distance, you'll come back and look at it with fresh eyes.
That's a good tip.
I mean, if you're really up against a deadline and you really have to get it out, I don't know, like,
Don't know.
pray. Try and be lucky.
Steal something.
Yeah, steal something.
Run. Leave the country.
Try and find some kind of reference points that you haven't looked at before.
Do what you did. Move to Canada.
Yeah, just get away,
Just
run
get
away.
away. Take the money and run.
But yeah, you have to try and force that that distance that you would have tried to take naturally. Like I just said, you try and get away from it for a day or two, or even an hour or two. If you can't do that, try and force it. So go back onto Pinterest, on Behance, on Dribble, or whatever it is you're looking at, and just try and find new ways of looking at the same problem.
Yeah.
And that can work. It's sort of more of a hard reset rather than just letting your brain naturally come to its own conclusions. And it's quite an exhausting way of working and not ideal, but it does a trick.
I agree. I think there's a saturation point. I used to do, when I was in uni, I used to do 45 minutes of an essay and then take a 45-minute break.
Yeah.
45 minutes of an essay and take a 45-minute break. And I'd match the amount of rest time with the work time perfectly. Because I'd always come back much fresher and go in for 45 minutes and then something stuck and you're like thinking about something for another 10. Then you write a paragraph, then you delete the paragraph. Then you write something else and then you delete that. And before you know it, you've just spent like 5 hours and you just get more stressed. Like sometimes just walking away from it is like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, just getting a bit of distance. Because you fatigue your brain trying to force it all the time.
Yeah.
Can be done in a pinch, but you'll never come out with something that's quite as good as if you just let it come naturally.
What advice would you tell yourself when you were a graphic design student? Like if you could go back now and
study graphic design.
Just that.
Yeah, don't do it the hard way around.
Yeah.
Probably, I just tell myself to, because I couldn't go back and tell myself when I was a graphic design student because I never was. I would just say, get experience earlier.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I'd change, because I've gotten to a really good point in my career that I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I've got a lot of creative freedom, so I wouldn't really want to change too much. The only thing I would say is is try and get more experience earlier, so you're not stuck doing it when you're in your mid-20s. Get it out of the way when you're going through university instead. Do it on your summers and stuff.
Yeah. I've got one more question for you, which we'll save for the close, because it's an offbeat one.
Okay. Sort of, there's two different questions here, but I'm going to roll them into one.
Come on.
So it's like, who's the worst spectator you've ever had, and what's the best way of controlling your nerves if you've got a slightly rowdy crowd?
Okay, worst spectator is children.
Just the whole species of children.
Just all children. And I'll tell you for why. When you're performing a trick, and let's say you've got like something classic palmed, and you're standing up at a table, a child will immediately see that there's something in your hand, and they'll spot it. Oh, something in your hand, and they've got no filter. They don't know that they need to be quiet. There's no way of audience managing a child unless you say, "Oh, okay, we're going to play a game where you stop talking, and you have to sit on the floor, or stand on this chair and be super cool now. Put this hat on." And turn the other way, I'm going to do a trick. It's really hard for me because I do a lot of magic with not adult themes, but you need to be of a certain cognitive awareness to realise that you know what I mean? They're all different. So this one, I don't know, being lost in the deck and appearing in your pocket is impressive because you don't have duplicates. You don't, like, there's only one. You can't do ambitious card with the child. So yeah, children are the worst. And parents at gigs saw magicians as babysitters. They still do. So then, my little kid, Francois, he loves magic. He loves it. He keeps talking about it over and over. And you believe it. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll show him something. Even though you're not a kid's magician. The truth is, they want to go get drunk at the bar. And they want him to look after their kid. And those kids will follow you round to every table. And I'm a kid, like, person. I grew up with my little brother. Do you know what I mean? Like, with a big enough age gap that I do fun things. Like, I'm going to go play laser tag with him next weekend. He's coming around here tomorrow to, like, cut pumpkins. He's, like, 10 years old. You know? So there's, like, a 16-year age gap between us two. So it's not that I don't like kids. It's just that I promise you, children are the worst spectators. Unless you're a kid's magician, don't perform adult magic to kids because you'll only hate yourself afterwards. They'll catch everything. They'll catch every palm. Entertaining one idea, they'll follow you to every table and spoil every trick in your set that you're about to do. And then when it comes to dealing with a rowdy audience, my advice is to not deal with a rowdy audience. If the audience is too rowdy, do one trick, shake their hand, thank them for their time. Personality-wise, you can be a bit more brash to get them on side. You can make a joke. Do you know what I mean? You can take it away from the magic if they're being a bit too rowdy. You're like, sorry, what's your name? And like, James. You're like, taxi for James? Jesus, what? How many has he had? How many drinks has he had? And everyone's nudging you like, oh yeah, you always guess like this after one Carlin. So you're like, yeah, okay, cool, we can deal with this now. Everyone else is on my side. But if you ever assess a situation where, and the other thing is, I'm 6'2", and I used to be a nightclub bouncer. No one is intimidating me. So when I walk into a group, I'm usually much taller than other people, whereas some magicians are shorter, they're a bit less confident than me.
Yeah.
And they're seen as easy targets for big groups of friends that can like poke fun at, especially kids that are starting out. They can poke fun at them and, oh, look at you. Show me, go on then, Magic Man. Show me a trick. Go on then. Hurry up. Show me a trick. Get in my pocket. Why isn't it in my drink yet? Hurry up. Oh, you're rubbish. I've seen this one before. It's so much better to just go up to an audience, try and joke with them and build a good relationship with them, have a laugh, ask them if they're enjoying their night. Do they want to see something cool? Which one of you gambles? And if you instantly, in your first trick, if you assess they're going to be a bit too rowdy or a bit unresponsive and they're going to be against you rather than with you, walk away. Thank them for their time. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I've got to move on. I've got to see everyone else. If you want to see something later, by all means, come up to me individually and I'm more than happy to show you another trick. And all that does is, anyone who didn't want to see it in the first place, they stay where they are. And anyone that does will follow you around all night and they'll be a bit more responsive because they know your time is valuable. So yeah, a bit long-winded. Promise you that'll help to whoever asks that.
Cool. I've got another one that I think might be quite good. So we talked earlier about how you started off in magic, getting like thumbing through a book, waiting for your interview. But how did you stick with it? How did you know that magic was going to be your career path?
I didn't. Same with you. So I quit everything as a kid. I did boxing for a few years. I did rugby for a few years, won a few caps and trophies. Do you know what I mean? Quit. And magic's the only thing I didn't quit. I did it for enjoyment, for myself, you know. And yeah, I knew that I wanted to do it forever when I didn't quit. Do you know what I mean? When it had been a few years and I had no inkling of wanting to quit at all. But I didn't ever know it would be a career path, ever. I went to uni I got into uni unconditional for producing a PDF called Devious on a MacBook that my mum bought me. So, yeah, I never knew. Illusionist headhunted me. I was doing a marketing job, and they were like, "Oh, we've seen your tricks. We've seen the tricks that you've published. We know that you've given marketing speeches, etc., around the world. Do you want to come and work with us?" And I was like, "Yeah." No more Saturday nights. You know what I mean? Being lost to working at events. I can sort of take an easier path. So yeah, I never knew. Got one for you.
Yeah, go on.
How can you test what a deck looks like in fans or flourishes without having a physical deck?
That's tricky. There's a couple of ways to test it, and that is one, to make a physical deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, depends whether you've already designed it or not. But I always sketch out the design as I want it to be, roughly how I want it to be, and then there's a couple of ways of doing it. Whereas I will sketch it. I will either sketch it twice, like staggering like that, and say, okay, so you'll get this bit each time showing through. Or if I've already designed it and I've sort of blasted through the point of, I should have checked this earlier, then I'll print out just 3 or 4 and just sort of see how they look. Just like that.
Low quality.
Yeah, just it's really cool, because all it is the layout. You're not looking for like, oh, is this bit of text going to be perfectly visible here? Or is this, going to do this, or it's going to do this? You just want to go, what colors are going to be seen here? What shapes are going to be seen here? How's the layout actually going to work? Are you going to get a clear view of the border like this, or is the border too small, or does it need to be right at the edge?
I think that's going to shock people on how simple that is. I think they're going to be sitting at home and being like, "What? He does it with a domestic printer?"
Yeah, like you don't need these big fancy things. You just need to be a bit, creative with the way you attack a problem.
Yeah.
Should
we do a quick fire round? Because I think we're coming up to over an hour now.
Yep.
To anyone that's lasted this far, feel free to comment part 2 below, and we can do another one of these.
We've got loads left here.
Go on. Do you want to do a quick fire round and run through a few?
Okay. Who is Daniel Madison?
Don't know. I've never heard of her.
Yeah. Never met her. Don't know.
Never met her. She sounds lovely.
All right, let's find some more little ones. Favorite deck?
Aurelians.
Obviously. Naturally.
Mm-hmm. Next.
Do you like girls?
Yeah.
As a general theme?
Yeah. I think that, do you know what I mean? With the extent to how far I went into the hair thing, I can imagine most people would assume that I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like girls. I live with my girlfriend here in the UK. I like girls, but everyone should like who they like, If you're out there, you like boys, you like boys. If you like girls, you like girls. But yeah.
I think there's somebody here who wants to buy you some clothes, because I've got a question for what's your sunglasses brand, and also what shoe size are you?
Oh, sweet. Shoe size 12, which UK 12, which is a US 13.
13.
So quite big feet. Europe 46. Sunglasses. Are you the same?
Yeah. Well, 12, 13, depending.
Sweet. Mate, so in sync. Except you're uglier, Sunglasses brand is Movement, MVMT.
Oh, they're the watch guys, aren't they?
Yeah, they do these watches too. Stuff like this. They're quite nice. But yeah, I buy cheap tortoiseshell sunglasses from Amazon for like £3 when I'm traveling. And then when I'm not traveling, I'm going to like a wedding or somewhere nice, then I'll wear my MVMT ones, tortoiseshell, again.
Favorite trick? Well, we've already done sleight of hand, but is there like a more broader trick that you...
Yeah, I think we did it. We did 2-card Monty.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if there was like a one outside of cars, like a bigger one or something that like maybe not favorite one to do, but just favorite one that you've seen.
My favorite trick I've ever seen done was by a guy called Gary Jones, and it was 6 cards to pocket. And it was when I first started Magic. It was at Wayne Dobson's lecture, first lecture I ever went to. He took 6 cards from my deck, and an ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's like, the ace. He turned it over, and he's like, it's in my pocket. And he's like, and the 2 is in this pocket, and the 3 is in this pocket, and the 4 is in this pocket, and the 5 is in this pocket, and then obviously, then the 6. He's like, and the 6 is in this pocket. And then I can't. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but when he turned over to show me the 6, they were ace, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So I was like, so he gave me. I thought this was the 6. He gives me the 6, and then these are the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm like, oh. So I asked him to do it again, and he did it again, and he fooled me again. And then I asked him to do it again, and he fooled me again. And I know I was just starting Magic, so I wasn't, I don't know, that up there on methods and stuff, but it's still one of my favourites that I remember. 6 cards to pocket, Gary Jones.
That's cool. I like that. Pizza or lasagna?
I'm gluten intolerant, so...
a nice green salad.
Well, yeah. or if I'm going to have like a cheat day or whatever, then pizza all the way. So yeah, pizza, lasagna. And do you know why, Oban? Because you can never get a restaurant that gets the ratio of bechamel to tomato just right. It's either too tomatoey or it's too white saucy.
What a problem to have.
It's such a problem. Just eat pizza, everyone. Just eat pizza, because they'll never get the ratio right.
What's your favourite Michael Jackson song?
I don't really like Michael Jackson songs. There's a lot of negative connotation with Michael Jackson that we could get into, but let's not besmirch that guy's name.
Yeah, let's not get sued.
Let's not get sued either. Although I was at Cardiff Millennium Stadium when Michael Jackson died. They did it was produced at the Millennium Stadium where I live in Cardiff. Sent it all across the world as a global audience, and a woman called like Yolanda, I think her name was. She sang the Earth song, one of Michael Jackson's most famous songs, and in that stadium, it was like one of the most emotional songs I've ever heard. Like, it was so loud, everyone was moved by it. It like resonated with everyone. I could feel. Do you know? It sounds quite new agey and weird to say, but I could feel the music. Do you know what I mean? It's like so loud, it was vibrating. But it was super powerful. So that's my favourite Michael Jackson song, although sung by someone else who's not Michael Jackson.
Cool. Do you want to do one more each? Call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got quite a good one here. That's what would you say is the best way to promote your self-image and brand in Magic? So sort of how do you create a good brand?
I've got a blog on this, so if anyone wants to go to GeraintClarke.com, I'll tell you the title. So go to GeraintClarke.com.
So shameless self-promotion. Just put,
not even
no matter
shameless.
What you're on, just pointing straight at your website.
Oban, not even shameless. They asked me. It's called 6 Steps to Becoming a Brand. So there's 6 steps in there that I outlined. It's going to take me too long to go through it. One of the main things is you've got to decide who you are and then produce an exaggerated version of that. And that's your brand. That's the easiest way to give yourself a brand. Who you are as a person, exaggerate it. That's who you are now as a brand. And that's who you should be publicly. I'm not... Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I might seem a bit arrogant in some of my social posts, or a bit blasé, but I don't know, that's not who I am as a person. Your outward image should be something that people can latch onto. So yeah, 6 steps to becoming a brand. GarrettClarke.com, you'll see it. And there's a lot in there. There's a lot of information in there that help you develop who you want to be and who you just naturally are. And everyone's seen those awful magicians that you're sitting there having a conversation with, and then someone's like, "Hey, show me a trick." And you, "Oh, who, me? Who, me? I'll show you a trick. Sure. Let me just roll up my sleeves. Let me just roll these guys up, and you can see there's nothing in my hands. And I'll show you this one. Hand me your hand. So no, not that one. The clean one. And as soon as someone breaks character into something else, they are immediately hated because it's disingenuous. So, yeah. Follow that blog post, and yeah, decide who you are as a person, and then just your social platform, just exaggerate that.
Just be a bigger version of yourself.
Be a more prominent, bigger, more confident version of yourself, and you'll know what your values are. You'll know what you want to do, and yeah, that's how you do it.
No, it's cool. I like that.
I've got one more for you. Then we'll finish off on a high, which is if you could meet any celebrity, Oban, who would it be? Who would you want to meet?
Brian Blessed. Flat out Brian Blessed. The guy's amazing.
I used to do a Brian Blessed impersonation.
I think everybody used to do a Brian Blessed.
Can you do one? Can you do one? Do you want to finish on
It's just shouting.
You started on a song. I think you should finish. Go on, finish with Brian Blessed, and I'll stop recording, and everyone's gonna love it and comment below.
All right, but first, just 1 or 2 quick things about Brian Blessed. 1, I think that you would only need to ask him 1 question, and then you could just sit back and listen to him for like 6 hours of talking.
Yeah.
2, he's like the oldest person that's ever climbed Everest or something.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And 3, he owns the largest private zoo in Britain with like 2,000 animals just at his house.
He's the real most interesting man in the world, isn't he?
Yeah, he's legitimately just so into. Also, he delivered a baby in a park.
Wait. Voluntarily?
Oh yeah, he didn't like punch her in the stomach or anything. How'd you come?
Yeah, there you go. There it is. That's Brian Blessed. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you want to see a part 2, we got more questions, but we didn't get through them. Thank you so much. I'll put the link for Aurelians below. I'll put the link for the blog post below. And Oban, any final thoughts?
Be true to yourself.
Perfect.
And aim for the stars.
Great. Cut.